What's up, boxing fans? This is the Rope-A-Dope Report. I'm your host, Chris Carlson. I just did a video on an undercard for August 22nd, Juan Diaz Malignaggi, the undercard. Now let's get to, this is not the Mayweather Marquez. I've already done a prediction and talked about that, done a couple videos on that. But this is the undercard, okay? And it's been great because Golden Boy's only had one pay-per-view this year as far as just Golden Boy. That was the Lightweight Lightning, which I thought, 7 out of the 8 fighters on there were former champs. I thought that was a good, worthy pay-per-view. And one of the fights that came out of that is actually going to be on the undercard, and I'll get to that in a second. And then HBO is only going to have 3 this year. They've had one with Pacquiao-Hatton, and obviously this one, Marquez-Mayweather, and then Cotto-Pacquiao. So you got to love that HBO, it has a bunch of doubleheaders, and a bunch of triple headers this year, and also just big fights like Margarito Mosley, which would land on pay-per-view. Even Cotto because of Cotto's popularity, would have landed on pay-per-view. But it's just one show. They tell a little story, they talk, and get right to the fight. I like that rather than doing a pay-per-view. They've been getting really good ratings. The Marquez-Diaz was the same way. Those are the top 3 ratings shows of the year. Obviously, the Pacquiao-Hatton did really good numbers on pay-per-view. It did anywhere from like 825-ish, 800 to 850, 100,000. So I think it was 825,000, something like that. It was really good, solid numbers. And considering Hatton had already lost on pay-per-view, and the American public knew, that there was a good chance he may lose, or at least, he was the underdog. And then it did really well in England. So the only guy top rank, of course, Bob Arum, he's the only guy that's been putting out too many pay-per-views, and like half of them, more than half of them, have been garbage. Anyway, let's get to this one, okay? It starts out the night with Zab Judah, a guy that always landing some big fights, And, I still got to admit, from rounds 3, 4, and 5, 1 to 5-ish, he's fun to watch. Even his last fight, well, his second to last fight in August, he gave Clottey all he could handle for 3-4 rounds. So he's fun to watch for a couple rounds, but then he's got to fight someone that's going to fight him back. And I believe right now it's scheduled Antonio Diaz, who I think will fight him back and give him, it's going to be a better test than Matthew Hatton, and that's who he was going to fight. So I think it's, for an undercard fight, the first fight, I believe it'll be the first fight. I think it'll be a pretty good scrap, It may even be only 8 or 10 rounds. So I hope it's not a 12-rounder. But Zab hasn't fought. The last time I saw Zab was on the Roy Jones Calzaghe undercard. And he was coming off the August really bad cut that he actually got out of that fight off the cut. And then he cut himself really early last November. So in that fight. And so he kind of just went through rounds and actually fought kind of smart. Just to get through the fight and get the win. So he's had time to heal. He signed with Mayweather Promotions, and he's been sparring with Mayweather, from what I understand, which makes sense for both of them. So I like that fight as a first fight. I mean, a lot of times you'll have a prospect against a complete nobody, and it'll be just a quick knockout, or sometimes they won't even give you that knockout, They'll just stop the fight. So I like that as a good first fight. Now, I'm assuming that the Michael Casitas against Vincente Escobedo, or Escobardo, I'm not sure how to say his name. Escobardo is a young up-and-coming fighter who is with Golden Boy. Both Casitas, I believe, and him are with Golden Boy. This is a fight that's been talked about for a little bit. This is a fight that was coming off of the Lightweight Lightning in what was it, April. So this is an interesting fight because Casitas has definitely been in there with a lot more talent. And he's shown that he can at least fight guys like Juan Diaz. You wouldn't call him a boxer-style guy, but in that fight, he'd give the combinations and then circle. Combination, circle. Combination, circle. But he didn't just kill Casitas. At the start, it was looking like it was going to be that, but Casitas hung around and made it a fight at least, you know what I mean? And then with Casamayor, I think if he fought Casamayor again, or had a good, a different shot at that fight, I think Casitas could have beat Casamayor. Now Casamayor is older now, and I just thought he made mistakes trying to go for the knockout in that fight when he had control of that fight after he had knocked him out of the ring, and Casimiro had to get back in. So this is a great fight, man, especially on an undercard. I mean, this is something that could be on free HBO. This is totally something that could be on Boxing After Night, or Boxing After Dark. Sorry. So Escobado's a good boxer, has really good hand speed. Like I said, he hasn't really fought the talent yet. He's a prospect still. He has a loss, but it was an early loss. He looks like he's got the goods, but we're going to see. Because like I said, he likes to, use a jab and use his hand speed and kind of throw not a lot of punches, like crazy amount of 100 punches, but he's very active in there. And but let's see how he's active against a guy that can take his punches. And let's see how he can do. Like I said, Casitas has seen Casimiro, a guy that can actually box backwards and move around the ring, not just box from the outside. So definitely Escobardo, as far as like ring, like he hasn't ring experience. He doesn't have as much. He has speed. I think he's fresher because in the ring he hasn't taken a lot of punishment, whereas Casitas, that's the only thing about Casitas. His 2 losses are Juan Diaz and Casimiro, so you can't, you know what I mean? He has some solid wins, but he's been in there with more talent. So I think this is a pick'em type fight because you just don't know how the styles are going to match up. What you do know is it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be active. And once again, for your second fight of the night, this is great. And this is for a lightweight title. It's a, vacant title, but it's a good fight, and whoever wins this fight is really going to catamaran and maybe get down the line of Valero, fight with Valero or somebody down there. Who knows? Especially if Escobardo wins, he could fight Juan Diaz down the line. Who knows? But this is a really good fight, and I'm gonna go Zab in the first one against Antonio Davis, so I'm gonna pick Zab. But in this one, I'm actually gonna go. I'm thinking about it right now because I believe this is a pick'em type fight. I'm going to go with Casitas. I think his, he's calmed down a little bit. He calmed down too much, I believe, in the fight against Juan Diaz. He used his jab and kept his hands up too much, but he was just getting boxed. And I could see that happening again with Escobardo, but he's still got to prove it against someone, that has actually been in the ring with really good talent. So, yeah, it's a pick'em type fight, I believe. So I'm going to go with Casitas on this one. In the main event, or not the main event, but the third fight, and I got about 2 minutes left. The third fight is a rematch between Chris John and Rocky Juarez. And Chris John came out the gate. That was on the Marquez-Diaz undercard in February. He came out the gate just really throwing a bunch of punches. He throws a lot of punches. He has pretty good movement. He's got the in-and-out style. But midway and later, especially later, the last couple rounds, Rocky was getting to him. And he hurt him a couple times. He stunned him really good. And, rumor has it that he came in with the flu, Chris John. Who knows about that stuff? He did have some problems in his blood illness. That's what happened. This fight was supposed to happen in June 27th. But I really like this fight. And if Rocky threw more punches, he could win this fight. You could kind of say that about, Rocky's known to be a slow starter in big fights. So you could say that about a lot of Rocky fights, though, too. So I do believe, though, neither of them have fought since February. So I believe that Chris John's going to win this fight. I thought Chris John won the first fight. It was a draw. I don't think you could say that Rocky won the fight, unless you're just a huge Rocky fan. But I don't see that Rocky won the fight. I don't see a draw. But I did see Chris John barely winning. You know what I mean? It was a tight fight, really good fight, and it should be a really active fight. And that's for the featherweight title of Chris John's, who's 42-0-2. So basically, I think it's the best pay-per-view card, top to bottom, in quite a while. And that's what I want to hear. What is your last favorite, top to bottom, best undercard? I think pound for pound, this is a damn good. This is worth $50. And then, oh, by the way, you get Mayweather Marquez, and who knows? You know what I mean? That could be a boring fight for a while and then be fun. Who knows? But the undercard, no matter what, is definitely worth paying. Anyway, this has been the Rope and Dope Report. I'm your host, Chris Carlson. Peace.